What makes the NBA one of the best sports leagues in the world is the constant storylines that present themselves as the season progresses. And I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like every day this season there's something new to talk about. So today, we're going to go over some of the biggest NBA storylines and buying or selling the possibility of each storyline being around in April. But before we get into it, go ahead and like this video and subscribe for more NBA videos just like this one. So without further ado, let's get started. Every season, a new team jumps from outside of the playoffs the previous season to being one of the top 4 seeds in their conference the next. Last season, it was the Sacramento Kings, who went from the 9th seed to the 3rd seed in 1 year's time. This season, it's the Orlando Magic, who currently sit in 2nd place in the East with impressive wins over the Bucks, Nuggets, and Celtics. The question is, do you buy or sell the Magic continuing their early season success and finishing as a top 4 seed in the East? And as crazy as it might sound, I'm gonna buy it. What I love so much about this Magic team is how well-rounded they are. Because even without Markelle Fultz and Wendell Carter Jr. for 10 games, the Magic are succeeding on both sides of the ball, but particularly defense. The Magic allow only 107 points per game and force over 17 turnovers a night, which is first in the NBA. And even without their starting center, the Magic allow only 40 rebounds a game and have a 78.2% defensive rebounding percentage, which means that they grab 78.2% of the available rebounds on defense and don't allow many second chance points. And from an effort standpoint, I have to mention Jalen Suggs and Jonathan Isaac, 2 guys who have stepped up and found a solidified role in this rotation as solid defenders. As for the offense, there's still some small concerns, but what makes this team so dangerous on that side of the ball is that they have 6 to 7 guys that can lead this team in scoring on any given night. And once Franz Wagner starts to find his rhythm, the Magic are going to look much more fluid on offense. What concerns me about this team just a little bit is their lack of three-point shooting, but if it continues to be a problem, I don't see why Orlando wouldn't just trade for a 40% three-point shooter at the trade deadline. I've been impressed with the Magic through 15 games, and I don't see a reason why they won't continue their success as the season progresses. What I didn't expect coming into this season was the Golden State Warriors struggling to find their footing. The Warriors currently sit at 8-9 and have lost 7 of their last 9 games. And while some of those losses you could chalk up to a slow start or Draymond Green getting suspended because he's Draymond Green, I'd say the Warriors' struggles go a little further than that. At this point in the season, the Warriors are the 10th seed despite being a consensus top 6 team in the West before the season. So do you buy or sell that the Warriors will continue to struggle and miss the playoffs? Now I'm going to sell this idea, but let me give you the case as to why the Warriors could miss the playoffs. The most glaring issue with this Warriors team is regression. Klay Thompson looks washed, Draymond Green has become even more of a loose cannon, and Wiggins looks nothing like the second option he was on the 2022 title team. This team has won mostly because of Steph Curry carrying the first unit and Chris Paul carrying the second unit. But can I trust 2 35-plus-year-olds continuing to carry the offense, especially with an injury history for both players? If you don't believe the Warriors will make the playoffs, you're banking on the continued struggles of the supporting cast and the Warriors struggling in the toughest division and conference in the NBA. And while I can't really argue with the Warriors having a tough time facing legitimate playoff teams every night, I find it hard to believe that this team won't find its footing. The Warriors traded away a major piece in Jordan Poole and got back Chris Paul, who, despite what his shooting splits say, has had a great year. But there's still a feeling out period, and unfortunately for the Warriors, their feeling out period has happened with the hardest strength of schedule to begin the season. And when the West is coming down to the wire in the last 10 games, and teams need every win in order to make the playoffs, the Warriors will be playing Utah twice, Portland, Charlotte, and San Antonio in 5 of those last 10 games. If the Warriors can just stay a couple games over 500 in this grueling Western Conference, they're going to go on a winning streak near the end of the season, and in my opinion, make the playoffs as a top 6 seed. This year's MVP race has been closely contested between 2 players, Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. Both are having otherworldly seasons on good teams and can do pretty much anything you want of them on the offensive side of the ball. My question to you is, do you buy or sell the fact that one of Jokic or Doncic will win the MVP? So pretty much, would you bet on Jokic or Doncic winning the MVP or any other player in the NBA winning the MVP? I'd say it's pretty easy to go with either of those 2 amazing players, but I'm actually going to sell this storyline and take the field, and here's why. There's two guys out east that I think have a legitimate shot at taking the MVP because their level of play has been elite and their teams have a chance to win 60 games. And those two guys are Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid. I think the argument for Tatum is pretty clear. He puts up about 28 points a night with 9 boards and 4 assists on 49% shooting from the field and 37% shooting from 3. And if Boston keeps up this pace, they'll win around 62 games and be the first seed in the East. Tatum would then be the easy choice, as the most common argument for the MVP is that it should go to the best player on the best team. But the interesting argument to me is the Joel Embiid for MVP case. Last season, Embiid controversially won the MVP over Nikola Jokic, though if you ask me, Embiid deserved it. And in the playoffs, Embiid choked in the second round and Jokic won the NBA Finals. Since then, it's been pretty much decided that Embiid will not win the MVP again even if he has an amazing season. But this isn't the same Joel Embiid as last season. He's much more free on the basketball court as a playmaker and shot creator without the burden of giving James Harden his touches. And as a result, Embiid looks like a whole new player. He's still leading the league in scoring, he's still a really good defender in the paint, and he's evolved in the aspects in the game that will help him in the playoffs if he's struggling to score. I might sound insane for betting against the MVP odds of two of the best offensive players in the 21st century, but I have a feeling that one of Tatum or Embiid, or even any other NBA player, will take home this MVP. There's so many storylines I could talk about with the Thunder, some good and some obviously bad, but I'm going to focus on how great this young team has looked so far this season, as the Thunder are 11-5 and second in the West. But my question to you is, do you buy or sell the Thunder as legit contenders? It seems crazy to say that a team so young could potentially make a run in the playoffs, but the Thunder have a legit superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, two young studs in Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, and solid depth that can shoot and defend. And the Thunder have started hot this season, shooting almost 50% from the field and 40% from 3 as a team, while scoring almost 120 points a game. The key for this team is Chet Holmgren, the first-year player that's brought something to this Thunder team that they've desperately needed: size. While Holmgren is still a little too skinny for my liking, he's held his own against larger centers defensively and is an effective second option on most nights. And he's doing what many never expected anyone to do, and that's challenge Victor Wembanyama for the Rookie of the Year. Another rookie on this team that's impressed me is Cason Wallace, the Kentucky standout that's a hound on defense, holding stars like Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, and DeJounte Murray to below 33% shooting. He's gonna be a big piece for this team for many years to come, and if he can develop more offensively, it's gonna be hard to keep him off the court. But are these added pieces enough to make the Thunder a contender? I really like this Thunder team, but I don't think they're quite ready to hold their own in a 7-game series against the Jokic's or LeBrons of the world. And while it's great that the Thunder are shooting so well to start the season, the odds of them keeping this up are slim to none. But what's likely to continue is the Thunder getting dominated on the boards. They only grab 8 offensive rebounds a game, which is dead last in the league, and they allow almost 15 offensive rebounds or 15 extra possessions to their opponent every night. So I'm regretfully saying that the Thunder are not going to be contenders, but again, this team will be contenders within the next 2 seasons. And finally, let's talk about the enigma LeBron James, who is somehow still playing at an elite level in his 21st season in the NBA. The base stats for LeBron are down, but if you watch him play, he looks and moves like he's still in his prime. And even when taking only 17 shots a game, which is the lowest amount in LeBron's career, he's still putting up 25 a night, shooting 56% from the field and 39% from 3. I hate to sound like one of those Twitter accounts that talk about how great LeBron is and how he carries the Lakers, but so far through this season, with AD's inconsistent play and role players struggling to find their footing, LeBron is pretty much the only reason why this team is above 500. And so far through this season, LeBron's playing like a top 10 player in the NBA. So do you buy or sell the fact that LeBron is going to finish this season as a top 10 player in the NBA? Normally this would be the time where I give you stats or some historical reference, but I can't because nobody at LeBron's age has played at the level he has. So let's just go over some of the guys who are definitely a top 10 player in the NBA. Jokic, Curry, Giannis, Doncic, Tatum, Booker, Durant, and Embiid. So there's 8 guys who I feel pretty comfortable saying that they're better than LeBron. But after that, other than Shai, I don't know if anyone's better than LeBron at this current moment. Jimmy Butler is a great player, but he disappears at times in the regular season, and that has to matter at some point in player rankings. LeBron's teammate Anthony Davis is one of the best defenders in the league, but he's not the guy on the Lakers. LeBron is. Damian Lillard is a great player, but I need to see more in Milwaukee before I can put him in the top 10. And unless Lillard or Butler have another ridiculous playoff stretch and win the finals, I don't see how either of those guys could overtake LeBron in player rankings. So I'm going to buy LeBron as a top 10 player at the end of this season, and I feel pretty good about that. But what do you think? Comment below your thoughts on these NBA storylines, and remember to subscribe for more NBA videos just like this one. I'm Julian with TalkBackSports, and I'll see you next time.